Hey there, everyone. This is a reflection commentary on a commentary, whatever you call it, for the two Bon Appetit videos I made earlier this year. This is one. Some would say long overdue, and most would say I don't care. And I'll open this up by saying I honestly am not a huge fan of this format. Back when I did this the first time, I think it was the Monopoly video, I actually filmed it on my smartphone because at the time I was filming a bunch of videos on this channel on my smartphone and just sort of pointing at myself, and it was kind of stupid and pointing at the timeline, yada, yada, yada. And, the one thing I do like about this format is that it kind of archives the project, right? Because the thing that spawned this is that the hard drive that I edit on is filling up. I need to delete the two Bon Appetit projects, but I don't like deleting projects until I know that I don't want anything else to do with them. And this is something I like this is sort of like taking a picture of the timeline. Like if I zoom out, not that far, if I zoom out to there, that's a picture of the timeline. I think that's actually where it was. But over here, it's like sometimes hard to tell. Is this the credits? Is this not the credits? Who knows? At the end of the thing here. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this format because I think it's like, I do this every day, right? Like I'm a video editor. That's my job. That's what I do. So especially in the middle of a pandemic, part of the reason why videos have slowed down is that it's like I sit at the same desk to do the things that I do for my job and things that I do for fun. And this is for fun, and it's hard to motivate yourself to sit at the same exact space to do both things. And I found that rather difficult. That isn't to say I won't finish the SpongeBob video. I'm going to finish it. It's, getting there. But one step in that is filming this. So we're going to do this. We're going to talk about the editorial process for this. All I'm saying is that the next one for the SpongeBob video may look different. I might do a different format. One of the things I'm thinking of is just doing like a commentary thing where I just sort of talk over the original video at a super low volume because it's easy to make those. And it also limits the amount of time I have to talk because these have always gone on way too long. And no one's going to sit here and listen for an hour about me talk about nerdy video editing shit. And maybe I'll find another way to snapshot the whole timeline because I do like doing that. But anyhow, this might be the last one I do of these. And if not, then I'll eat my words and it's fine. And by eat my words, I'll like print them out. I'll go over to Staples because I don't own a printer. I'll go to Staples, print them out, physically eat them. High in fiber, possibly good for your digestive system. Who knows? So the story with this too is that like I've wanted to do this commentary, this specific reflection for months now. And the first time I did it, that ended up being the follow-up video. So like I did that commentary and then the content that went into that reflection commentary, whatever you call it, that went into what became the follow-up video. So that's part of the reason why I'm here now, because it's like part of what I talked about in this follow-up video is like I look back at this, I'm very proud of the work I did on it, but it's hard to agree with everything I said because it's so obviously more complicated than how I framed it here, as it is with a lot of different things. So I don't really know how to start or how to like approach this really. Like one thing I will say that I'm very proud of, that I'll talk about, is the attempt that I did, somewhat successful, at parodying the maybe canceled, presumably canceled because Matt Hunziker's gone, parody of Brad Leone's It's Alive. And it's kind of funny now that this is like not a thing anymore. Like so many people from BA are dead because it's like this is almost like my own parody snapshot of what this era of this YouTube channel was like, because it is so fun and lively. And like you look at the BA videos that are out now and they're trying to do that, but they just can't. It's just not the same because there's this like there's this knowledge that's public now. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? Like the old Bon Appetit, you could ignore the stuff. That's kind of what I was talking about in the follow-up, right? You could ignore the corporate nonsense and racism and bigotry that took place in the background. Now that it's out in the open and they're just ignoring it, that's a different tone. And like, obviously, right, that you can say, oh, they made steps, right? And that's kind of what I talked about. Like, and where Bon Appetit is now is undoubtedly better than where it was before, even though I don't find the content as enjoyable or watchable because of the knowledge that we have now. But it's healthier for the workers, it's healthier for everyone there, and it's more representative of the culinary, audience it's trying to target. So in all of those aspects, it's better for it. So we have to run with that. One of the interesting things about when I make videos like this is picking the starting point. Because most people, right, would say, well, there's two approaches, right? The first approach is to start at the beginning. You say, okay, I'm going to start right here. This is where I start. Let's go. We're going to do it. I'm going to hit play, and we're going to not play, apparently, because Final Cut wants to freeze, because I'm recording this on QuickTime instead of on a separate capture device, and I thought a 2013 Mac Pro could handle it, but apparently not. What was I saying? So it starts at the beginning. Apparently, that the thing with starting at the beginning, though, is that a lot of times a giant, very loud car, motorcycle will go off in the background. The thing about starting at the beginning is sometimes, especially with the things I've written recently, and this is true for the SpongeBob video, this will be true for the video I make after the SpongeBob video, most likely, and that's also... it's actually less true for another video that you can see in the events there that you don't know about. That's already made, but is for a different thing. It's not as true there. But for most of the videos that I'm writing, and even other scripts that I'm writing that haven't been finished yet, a lot of them start broad, right? They talk about a broader topic. And when you talk about a broader topic, there isn't footage for that, right? If you're talking about... like with Bon Appetit, like let's use this as an example, right? We're talking about a magazine, and then we're talking about things like, target audiences and markets and how to get online and things like that. This is the worst comp in the entire, video, by the way, the stupid 3 money sign text. Like, I could have done something way better there, but I just got lazy because at the time when I was doing this, I think it was like 2:30 in the morning. So I got lazy there. Fully admit that is my least favorite thing in this entire video. Probably, unless there's something else I catch. Because you're talking about something broader, it's harder. There's less obvious footage for it, right? So what I did, and what I'm doing with the SpongeBob video as well, is I actually start somewhere around, I want to say somewhere around 6, let's see. In this case, it was around 4:30 in, and SpongeBob, it's around 6 minutes in, where it's starting to become more obvious what footage you want to show somewhere. You start showing the Food Network shows of the personalities I'm talking about. Let's show Emerald. Let's show, Bobby Flay. Let's show that, and go through and show all of the relevant footage that we're talking about. We crop in the sides. We do that fun little transition bit, and do that. And so this was easier to make, and because it's easier to make, it's more obvious, it helps establish a visual language for the video itself. And one of the things that I've tried to do more recently, and by more recently I mean like since the Super Mario Odyssey video, maybe, or Thomas the Tank Engine even more, is instead of doing something that's my style per se, I like doing something that sort of is a mix of my style and the style of the thing I'm talking about, right? So with Bon Appetit, I want a bit more snappy cuts, fast-paced, kind of thing, with clean text, like this sort of clean, largely rounded text, a little bit of italics, focus, that kind of stuff, all white and black, and do a lot of that kind of stuff. Very like clean music in the background, this clean, like sort of loose, jazzy, percussion heavy audio in the background to kind of set the tone of the stuff that we're we're talking about. In the SpongeBob video that's coming out, for instance, we're doing we rip the music from the show. We use the actual soundtrack from the show and some relevant other SpongeBob media, and we do a lot of Hawaiian title cards to communicate points. Definitely very few wipes, right? Because a lot of SpongeBob is like crossfades and cuts. And the only wipe you have is the bubble wipe, which I actually just put a crossfade behind it anyway, which this is a different thing. So with Bon Appetit anyway, you do have some wipes going on, especially when we get into the footage of like a specific person, right? And the reason why we do that is because I just really don't like the jump cuts work in like a vlog kind of format, and there's a reason why Bon Appetit chose jump cuts, which is something I actually talk about in this video kind of briefly or hint at, so that it's like one camera. It's a one camera approach. But I think they work better in like a vloggy format, like sitting in front of a webcam where the background doesn't change that much. When you're jump cutting and the camera's moving and the people in the camera are popping in different places, it's just a look that I just can't stand. So it's when I take the executive decision to say, okay, then let's do a blur, or let's do, what's over here? Do we have a wipe here or something? Yeah, we have a wipe here, right? And so these are the decisions I start making as I go through the edit to sort of start to communicate a visual language for the video, and then I sort of stick with that as I go through the rest of it. So it's easier to start with something simpler and then go to the more complex stuff later, and then when I get to the motion graphics at the beginning, I've had this visual language sort of already laid out, so I have a better idea of what I actually want to do here. Even though by that point I'm already like, oh, let's get the video done already, which is how I feel about the SpongeBob video I'm working on now, right? So that's sort of the approach. And part of the reason why I'm saying I'm like kind of sick of this format is because like I'm gonna say the same thing if I do this for the SpongeBob video at this point. Back in 2018, 2017, one of the things I liked about this format, and I still like about it back then, was that I was still learning, right? And I'm still learning now. But I think there's a difference between, I make these videos and I really stretch my creative muscles and try different things. And I still try different things, right? But, there's less new to talk about. And because there's less new to talk about, it gets more redundant, and it's like, I did this transition here and this looks cool. And I don't really feel like that's worth worth talking about over and over again. So that's kind of, I think I might switch it up, do something different. Whether it's like something where it's like something I do at the end of it for every video, like a commentary every video, or even if it's something where it's just like I kind of just post a video on here every now and again talking about where I'm thinking of the channel and like just random like updatey kind of things. I might do that too. I don't know what this channel is going to look like is my point. But instead of talking about that, let's do the actual reflection. So visual language is something I talked about. One thing I do want to talk about that I got really good at with this video in particular is organization. And the reason why I was so concerned about organization with this video is because if you jump over to the credits at the end of the video, right, it's just an insane amount of videos to sort through, right? So if I want to go and find a particular shot of Claire doing something, it's like insane to try and find that in the sea of stuff. So what you have to do in that situation is a situation that forces you to organize. Historically, especially when I was making more videos about video games, which, I'm not done doing that. But when I did that more often, it was easy because since you were just talking about the video game, there wasn't really like, that was all the footage you had. So you just had the full playthrough of that and then your voice and then any other relevant media you want to bring in. Here, because I'm talking about a YouTube channel with so many different videos, you have to organize it. So one thing that Final Cut does is these things called keywords. And the idea behind it, which is really smart, is instead of having a folder structure that forces you to assign one thing to one thing, the keyword system acts more like a tagging system in that you can assign multiple things to multiple things. So I can go into Bon Appetit, and when it loads, because it's recording the screen and it's going to take a while, apparently, this is extraneous Bon Appetit. Okay, well, I thought I was going to be smart there, but apparently not. The idea is you can assign multiple things to multiple things. So if I were to, I think I actually used this. Now that I think about this, I think I actually used it. Yup, I used this as an example the last time I tried recording one of these. That's fun. This is the Trying Everything Right series that Alex Delaney does. So these are 4 Alex Delaney videos. So right now they're tagged as Alex Delaney, and then because I had this example that I did last time I tried recording one of these reflection videos, I also assigned it to Bon Appetit. So in theory, I could put every single Bon Appetit video in the Bon Appetit tag and then have other tags for the individual personalities, which is great. So now if I want to find Claire doing any specific thing, I can easily find all of the Claire videos without having to scroll through all of this crap, right? And that's great. That makes things a lot easier for everyone. And you can sort by file type as well in this whole media library area over here. So this is MPEG 4. These are all the these are labeled no data, but these are all the pre-comps in Final Cut. They're called compound clips, but it's the same concept. You can see that there are a few that claim that they're not used, but actually they're just comps inside of comps. So everything's sorted that way, and then on top of that, you have this keyword system over here, and then in the actual files on the hard drive, I have it organized into folders that way. And the other cool thing is if you drag a folder into the event in Final Cut, which for those who don't know, events are basically the equivalent to projects in Final Cut, and then projects, as they're called here, are the equivalent of sequences. So it's just a different terminology in Final Cut versus a DaVinci Resolve or a Premiere, but the concept is still the same. The idea is that everything kind of stays organized in that way. Would it be cool if there were folders and keywords in Final Cut? Yes, I'd actually really, really like that. That's a great suggestion. Good job. You came up with a good one. That's one of like the 3 things that I want to change in Final Cut. The other ones, if you're curious, are I want more options with keyframe interpolation. Which if you don't know what that is, I've probably talked about it in a prior video, but like a good example would be if we go to the beginning of this, and let's go see, not the buttermilk pancakes, let's go to, what do we got here? This is the lemons. We like the lemons. The lemons were good. I like the lemons. So if we go here, this is a good example. So if we go in, we have the early issue that comes up, right? And then from there, then it moves over and 1956 shows up. You don't see the 1956 because it's black background transparent. If I were to change the default background color to something else, then you would see a different thing. But the issue is that if we look at the actual transformation for this, we can see that it moves straight up and then it moves straight right. And our only options to do anything with it are either linear or smooth, and those are our only options. Now, if we go in a bit further and we look at this, you can see that there's a handle. It's hard to see. There's a handle here, if you can see it real close, and there's handles there and there. And what those do, if you drag them around, is they can adjust the speed, but they also adjust the curve of things. And that can work. So if I stretch this out, you'll see that the speed of this changes. So it goes shoom, Let's see this again. It's gonna freak out. Let's have it go up. So actually what it's gonna do is do a little like foom. So it's gonna do like a rebound kind of situation. The issue is, let's undo it again. The issue is that you don't really have so much, complete control over it. And Apple's solution to that would be, well, just open Apple Motion, right? And in prior projects I have, in the middle of the night at 1:30 in the morning, do I want to open Motion and do a whole composition and then export that and then put that in here? No. Would it be nice if you could open Motion within Final Cut Pro and have it automatically link like it used to with Final Cut 7 and currently does in the Adobe suite? Yes. Will they do that, or do they care enough to do that? No. And then the follow-up question to that also is, would it be better for it to just be in Final Cut? 100,000% yes. So those are like the two major things that I think should change to Final Cut Pro. And the second one is the one thing I always point to that I think Premiere does better than Final Cut Pro. That's it. Everything else, Final Cut Pro is better. Premiere does it. Premiere crashes all the time. Uses up more hardware. More like power on your machine. Final Cut is way more efficient. It encodes faster. It just does everything better. And transitions are great because you can edit transitions and titles and all that stuff in Motion, and that directly links back. It's just Motion compositions don't link back for some reason. So transitions are actually better in Final Cut in that way. They're much more refined than they are in Premiere. So there's a lot of great things about the software I use, is my point. This, I'm surprised. I thought I did this in Motion, actually, but I didn't. I actually did this in Final Cut too. Interesting. So the other thing I think I should talk about is, let's talk about these Matt Leone segments, which I mentioned a little bit. Like, I think it's cool that they're this like tribute to, It's Alive before It's Alive stopped existing, right? And I like that. But one of the things I really liked about it is that when I was talking about stuff like visual language before, it allowed me to do something very, very different than anything I normally do for the videos that I normally make on MML's commentaries. And that's why, like, I think I've had a lot of fun doing stuff that's just super, super different, because a lot of times, I think it's just because I've done these videos for a while now, that doing something a bit different feels nice. So the other project that you may or may not see in this top hand box on the top left of the screen, that project was fun because it was different than the normal video essay that I do. And I'm excited for the project I'm doing after SpongeBob. Not that I'm not excited about SpongeBob, I am. I'm excited about that because there are some elements that I'm going to do that are very similar to this Matt Leone segment, and that they're different. And I'm going to try and lean into that more with the next video, because I think that's something that's also holding up the production process for the SpongeBob thing. I'm really, really proud of a lot of the goofs in this. It just very much like my personality. It mixed with the goofs of like a Brad Leone, right? Just completely goofing and just being an idiot. But also incorporating things like the whiteboard that's in It's Alive, and like the pop-in text nonsense, and some weird, stupid little goofs. My favorite's probably the lemons. I really, really like the lemons. The lemons are hilarious. That's here, right? Yeah, we like the lemons. Oh, that's the celebration. Where are the lemons? We need the lemons. We need to see the lemons. What are we doing if we're not seeing the lemons? There's the lemons. The bowling sound effect sells it. It's just one of the. It's just, could I have had a little pins fall up? Probably, but it's just so. I don't know. I was just super. It didn't take long to do, but it was just so much fun to do. If you're wondering, I don't drink almond milk. My girlfriend does. I do drink Pepsi and probably too much of it. Yeah. So what else do I want to talk about here? I like how I think the recurring theme of this is this visual language element where I'm like adapting to the things that I'm talking about. And one of the things I like about this video is how I adapt that language based on the show I'm talking about. So it's like consistently Bon Appetit feeling throughout the video, but the Matt Leone segments very much feel like an It's Alive video. And then on top of that, like when I'm talking about Brad, the editing's a little bit goofier. It's a little bit more lighthearted. And then when I go to Claire, which I think is the tightest editing of the whole video, it feels methodical. It feels like Claire. And even in the element that I have, like part one, and I have the steps come in here, when I'm doing the tests, like the different steps of making the video, which it's weird that she calls them tests. They call them tests, even though it's just like steps, but it's still cool. So I'm really proud of this part of the video. It's probably the tightest part of the video from like the actual video essay part. My goal whenever I'm working on videos now, which be it the SpongeBob video or anything else I'll work on in the future, I think my goal would be to make the entire part of the video essay as tightly cut as this, because it just is great. And the other thing too is like I think one of my weaknesses when I was a few years ago is that I held on to shots too long. One of the examples would be like the Danganronpa video, right? It was an hour long, and part of the problem is the whole game looks the same. But that the video could have been more visually interesting just by cutting more often. If I had found more shots and just did more cuts or transitions, that especially not visually, confusing transitions like that video is full of, it would have made the video more interesting to watch. And so one of the things I like about this is that, I didn't go 2 seconds without a cut. And I think that was super important. And the cuts are timed to the voiceover, and they're paced with the music sometimes as well. And it's those little tiny things that, I've had my qualms with hard cutting, and I made like the Monopoly video, I think has 2 cuts in the entire video, and the goal was to have as few cuts as possible. And I like that style too. Very transition heavy, thing. But I think the thing about a cut is, and I've learned this as I guess through editing more and more videos, through having to do it as part of my job as well, is you go through the cycle, right? This is just true with any interest or hobby, where you start simple and then you're like, ooh, I discovered all this complexity. So the goal should be to make it as complex as possible. And then you loop around and then you realize that there's an art to the simplicity, and cuts are very good. I know that's a really deep thing to throw in, however many minutes we are into this now. But a meaningful cut can be powerful, is my point. And a cut is very easy to do. You just hit the B key and you hit the thing, and we made it cut, right? Well, actually, no, because we're recording this and it's gonna freak out. Okay, but cutting is easy. Final Cut cannot save changes. The library is no longer available. Interesting. And we're back. I think just recording a high resolution monitor and looking at a project at the same time probably wasn't my smartest idea. Off of the same machine instead of doing it externally. So I don't remember what I was talking about. So anyway, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Freaking right after I talked about not too long ago, the program crashed. Probably crashed because I'm recording a high resolution monitor while having a Final Cut project open at the same time. So probably not my smartest idea. Either way, I really like this section of the video, and like I said, I kind of want every section, ideally every video essay I ever make is as tightly made as the Claire section of this video. I'm really, really proud of it. Other parts of the video, I think some of it I feel like I'm on autopilot, but there's nothing wrong with being on autopilot if it works. Like I said, there's an art to simplicity. You don't need to overthink it sometimes, and that's okay. I think that works. If you have some cool visual flair every second, it's going to be hard to focus on. And I see a lot of YouTubers that do these certain video essays where it's like, they're trying too hard on the visual element, throw filters over everything, heavy transitions, and it's definitely a style. But I don't come out of it being wowed. I just come out of it thinking, okay, I don't know, maybe that's just me. Not calling anyone out in particular. So I couldn't even name one if I honestly thought of one. Anyway, I think that's really all I have to say on this. At the end of the day, I'm very proud of how this was edited. The content, in hindsight, obviously, hindsight is 2020. The year. But there's a lot about this I'm proud of that I'll pull inspiration from with future videos. Absolutely. Let's go to the follow-up, which I had a lot of fun working on once again because it was different. It was something that was very different from what I'm used to. The other interesting thing about this is that this was cut in 2 days. And it definitely feels like it, right? Because it's just cutting between 2 cameras, and multicam editing is very, very, I don't know. I think some people think it's really hard. It's not. Why did I film with 2 cameras? Everyone commented on this video saying, you didn't need 2 cameras. You could have just used the 1 camera. Well, part of it is because, like I said, I really just hate jump cuts. I just hate them. I don't know why, but it's just not my thing. I have them in the credits sometimes, but I try to avoid them. Like, I try doing my credits bit in one go if I can, when I do them. So I that's part of it. And the other reason is because it's fun. That's really the best reason I got, is that it's fun to think about multicam in that sense. And did I do a few punch-ins and jump cuts and things like that also? Sure. Would it be easier to avoid that if I had 3 cameras? Sure. Is 3 cameras too much? Absolutely. So I just stuck to 2. The way multicam editing works in Final Cut, it's very easy. You go over, hang on a second, and wait for it to open. It's going to take a second because, like I said, recording a high resolution monitor and recording this at the same time and having the project open was probably not the smartest idea, but here we are. I'm not going to cut this out because I know I'm not going to, but hopefully it'll open eventually. But yeah, I don't know. The main crux of this was it was one, I think a necessary follow-up to have out there, but then the second thing is that it was a cool way to experiment with unscripted video. I liked editing the 2019 video for that reason too, but I'm still not probably going to do one in 2020, partially because I have no idea what I would put on said lists, because I didn't play a lot of games in 2020. I did listen to a lot of music in 2020, but I couldn't even tell you my top 5 albums of the year. I know what my number 1 is, but anyway. So either way, you basically put in your 2 angles, you sync them up, in here in this multicam thing that exists. And that's pretty much it. And you can see they're right here. So I have main 1 and main 2. That's because I stopped recording at one point and then restarted again just to check audio levels, other things like that. Just make sure I wasn't screwing up, basically, because I'd already screwed up several times. Most things that I do take several takes. The Bon Appetit video, for instance, I'm pretty sure I recorded that entire script once and then didn't like it and then re-recorded it again. So that's just how I operate. So you sync those things up and then you just drag this multicam thingamajig in here. And then all you do is you go in here, you go view angles, and then all you need to do is when you want to switch to a different angle, you just hit the other one. And then one is always assigned to have audio, so that way your audio levels are consistent. Obviously, the one that I had audio in is the one with the better mic, the shotgun mic that I had. And yeah, it sounds a bit reverby. Yeah, I could have used a lav, but I don't like using a lav. I'd rather just do it this way. So yeah, it's really simple. So I spent one night going through, setting all the angles, figuring that out, and then I didn't do any like sidebars or anything weird like that, like you see in like the late night shows, or like I did in the 2019 thing, right? I just either have me full screen or the B-roll, and then so then day 2 was exclusively spent on the B-roll, and a lot of the time for this was spent on highlighting the specific quotes, and a lot of this was just making sure that all of the news and the first party stuff was there, the Instagram posts, the original photos, the tweets, all of that stuff. Make sure it's all there and make sure we're highlighting what we need to highlight so that way people can read along with me, et cetera, et cetera. It's very basic kind of stuff. Statements on a completely different matter, blah, blah, blah. So just making sure it's fully transparent, essentially, because that's what's most important. But then we get into the more important talking about my video about it. When I say more important, I mean more relevant to me. Like, it's not my place to talk about, like, I don't work at Bon Appetit, right? So it's not my place to look on the outside and be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, more importantly, we should be listening to the stories of the people that work at Bon Appetit and what they think. And evidently they thought badly because most of them left. And I don't blame the people that stayed, right? Like, people need a job, but, like Claire left and Carla left and Sola left and Priya left and Rick Martinez left and all these different people left. So we're talking about my video. The one thing I do want to mention in this bit, I don't really have too much to say on the editing for this, right? It's very simple. And like I said, I was kind of on autopilot for this, but I had fun with the multicam element. And I definitely had fun filming it, even though I had to do it like 5 times. Someone left a comment, and I just want to address it, even though it isn't really relevant to like editing or anything like that. But this is also why I'm not a huge fan of this format. Like, if the video is just playing in the background, I can talk about whatever I damn well please. But someone left a comment basically saying that I didn't acknowledge, like, they were mad at me, right? Or I won't say mad. They didn't say they were mad. They were just like disappointed. Let's put it that way. And you can see this comment thread on the original video, and they had said that oh my God, this guy's gonna acknowledge his racism, and then it's kind of like the me thing. So then me in the video says, what was it? I'm just an optimist. I think that was what the comment was. My counter argument to that was that sort of missed the point, is that the optimism and the ignorance is the systemic racism part, right? That, like, being in a more privileged position than others, that grants people the ability to ignore problems, right? Me not working at Bon Appetit, and then on top of that, things like my race, gender, sexual identity, socioeconomic status, where I grew up, urban, suburban. I'm more in a suburban area. Gender identity. All of these things play a factor in how I am treated, and in turn how I view the world, right? And that allows me the ability, it enables the ability for me to ignore things and just consume, right? And that's what I was trying to get at. But the end statement, the conclusion that we reached in the comments was that, you know, it's not the other thing is it's one of the issues is that people constantly explain why they do things, right? And that's part of what happened at Bon Appetit too, is Rappaport explaining why he did this. Oh, it was from several years ago. It was this. Alex Delaney saying I was a dumb college student. All of these things are explanations, and I don't think either of them are saying that they're excuses, right? But the explanations at the end of the day aren't really important. They're important in the sense that, like, you know, to the people that care about you, that they understand that you're learning and growing and etc. But to the affected party, the explanation doesn't mean shit. What does matter is the result. So the result of this video and the Bon Appetit video is, to some degree, it seemed like I was both ignoring problems at Bon Appetit, failing to acknowledge them, and then justifying that ignorance, as opposed to acknowledging that ignorance and citing it as what it is, which is, you know, a product of systemic racism. Instead of acknowledging that and just saying, full stop, that's it, let's move on, I sort of keep talking, and I'm still doing that now. I like to keep talking, if it wasn't obvious enough. And I talked for freaking 20 minutes in this video. And there's nothing wrong with me talking for 20 minutes if all of it's fine, relevant. But I just want to stress that the most important thing, right, is to start a conversation. That's the whole goal of this every video I make. I want to start a conversation because I like having conversations with people about things, whether it's, you know, show I watched, a game I played, an album I listened to, and more recently, especially with the U.S. general election that just wrapped, the state of the world, politics. And I like having these conversations with people, and I like listening to different opinions and different views, and challenging my own viewpoints to, you know, within reason. And that's something that I enjoy, for one, and two, I think is healthy. So the purpose of these videos is to start a conversation. So that's the first goal. So when I make this sort of follow-up video, I guess my point is the goal of that video was to start a conversation rather than to explain why I made the first video. It doesn't matter why I made the first video. I'm just saying, in the environment that we're in now, or at the time that I made that video, let's have a conversation. And that's why all of my videos, even before I made video essays, are still up, because those can start conversations as well. If you want to go back to 2012 and see some dumb nonsense I said as a high schooler, guarantee there's something regrettable I said there, or something I disagree with. Everything that's out there starts some sort of conversation, with or without me. So that's what I hope these videos do. I hope they continue to do that. And I think that's a good place to stop this reflection commentary on a commentary thing, and probably return with a different format next time. Especially considering I didn't really play back much of this project. I didn't really talk too much about like specific things in Final Cut too much. And I don't see myself doing that much in the future with these. And maybe I'll change my mind with the SpongeBob video soon. But I just don't really, I don't really see that happening. So we're going to call it here. And I'll probably upload this tomorrow. And I'll work on the SpongeBob video in the meantime. And that's it. So have a great day. Enjoy your life, and stay safe out there.